the black and white world, the third gender, and other magical experiments. This is the binary principle, either or, 0 and 1. It assumes that a switch can only ever be in one position at a time. In one position, it means one thing, in the other, it means something else. Moreover, this switch cannot occupy a middle position. It cannot be 30% in one position and 70% in the other. The binary principle of this world does not allow for combinations. And any notion of combinatorics ends before it even begins in the world of Bria. For it is precisely the binary principle that imposes strict and limiting characteristics on this world, the world of the Sephiroth. It's either one or the other, not both. If a person is born a woman, then he cannot be a man. If a person is born healthy, then he is not ill. If a person is born sick, then he is not healthy. And this very clear yes or no, 0 or 1, is precisely what is laid down in the principles of the second arcana. This binary principle makes the world very simple and highly predictable. It does not allow for a middle position. Hence, all the effects such as clear good and evil, black and white, yes or no. The binary logic that is present in a person and forms the basis of the logical structure of their mental body, all of this is an effect of the second arcana. And the effects of the second arcana came about so that its power could properly control the power of the first arcana, and so that the power of the first arcana could, in turn, properly manifest itself in the worlds where it is used. It is only possible to combine two elements. For example, as you already know, the power of the elements within a person's subtle bodies has the ability to combine all four elements, but only at the level of the Sahasrara chakra. At the level of all the other subtle bodies, which are more or less associated with either physical or social existence, only two elements can be combined. Do we have a subtle body that has a combination of three elements? No, we do not have such a body. Although logic suggests that there is nothing to prevent three elements from being combined, they can exist individually or in pairs. So why is the system deprived of the ability to combine three elements and produce certain effects? The system can manifest one element. It can combine two or four elements, but not three. A combination of three elements seems to be inaccessible to our consciousness and perception because it is not written into the algorithm. Only a combination of two elements is. We perceive either one element or a combination of two or four elements, and a combination of three elements seems to belong to something beyond our understanding, as if a human being could not touch it. Neither our physiology nor our consciousness allows for a triple combination. So, the world we live in is only a black and white reflection of a much richer spectrum. And with all that, colleagues, if we look at the Sephiroth tree again, let's take another look at it. We can see that this flat image is something that relates solely to our operating system. For example, these same Kabbalists proposed an understanding that each Sephira could be connected by channels not only to 3 or 4 others, but even to 10. And each channel that extends from a single Sephira to other Sephirot in different systems, in other worlds, can exist in completely different dimensions. But our world ended up with a two-dimensional mode of comprehension, either or. Although we live in a three-dimensional world and have four-dimensional perception, including time, and have been given 4 elements, binary logic still confines us to a two-dimensional reflection of reality, one that is limited to a flat perception. And so, we are faced with this paradox. The world of Atziluth is inverted in relation to the world of Yetzirah. They are mirrored, but mirrored precisely in their inversion. Where we have right, they have left. Where they have the past, we have the future. And this inversion also carries a special meaning. It reflects the logic of human presence here. Philosophers, in this respect, have long since worn their brains and teeth down to the roots, arguing about how man knows himself. Some philosophers, standing on the positions of the ninth arcana, claim that man is what he thinks of himself. That is, he is what he perceives himself to be through the sum of all effects. Whereas philosophers who stand on the positions of the world of Yetzirah and its projections, that is, diametrically opposed to the ninth arcana, claim that man can only come to know himself through comparison with the other, through that which he is not. This idea, this binary nature, this two-dimensionality, is deeply encoded into the logic of a person within the world of Yetzirah. It is expressed in quite a limiting manner. That is, the entire diversity of the world is reduced to the understanding, me and not me. I am human, therefore everything that is not human is not me, it is the other. Similarly, man immediately assigns the animal world to the other. It is not human, therefore not me. The plant world, the world of natural elements, the world of nature spirits, the world of the living, the world of the dead, all forms of life that are different from man. So, black and white perception manifests even here. The entire diversity of the world, in the perception of a person within the world of Yetzirah, is reduced to just two options, me and not me. That's it. He compares himself with something. If I am not like this tree, then I am not a tree. And there is no intermediate effect in consciousness. That is how this operating system works. This operating system is simple. It is designed to produce simple effects, not complex ones. Look at what has been happening lately. Here and there, new information appears, some insider knowledge, which is completely rejected by people belonging to the egregorial and religious layers. Take, for instance, the story of the third gender. Look at the fascinating situation that has arisen. It is an injection. First of all, the injection takes place in a specific allocated space, and as a result, people are prepared in advance for this injection. The alternative form appears, and there it is. A third element emerges. People learn to live with this new form. For a while, it's happening in a small, allocated territory, let's say somewhere liberal and free, like the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, for example, the concept of a third gender is being introduced, and there is already an alternative, not just male and female genders, but something third. How will people be able to live with that? Will they be able to, at all? Did this information just appear by itself? No, it's an injection. An injection that first tests the system to see if it can function in another dimension, and if people can perceive it normally. If they can perceive a third gender, it means they'll be able to perceive a fourth gender, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh, and essentially, 53 forms of living existence will become accessible to them. It's a form that somewhat suggests, well, if you're going to accept the third gender now, let's give it a try. Look, this is an elf. It's not the sex you think it is. It reproduces by budding. And this is a troll, which is neither male nor female. It's simply that wherever it spits, another troll appears. And so, if a person is able to perceive a third component within themselves, not black or white, but something else, it means they will be able to perceive a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. But will everyone be able to? Will everyone be able to accept all the derivatives of this system from the world of Yetzirah and, sooner or later, transfer them to another operating system? Or will some people be forced to remain in this system because they will not accept another mode of existence? Can we somehow divide people by caste, for example? Perhaps representatives of one caste will be able to accept it, while those of another caste will not. Do religions help or hinder this introduction? Can they act as a catalyst, uniting people around a new theory or a new faith? Or will they, on the contrary, become something that weeds out people? Those who can accept it will leave religion, while those who cannot will remain. And so, the coming years, leading into another dimension, that is, another aeon, specifically those very 150 years we've mentioned repeatedly, although there are fewer now, are exactly what is needed to implement these injections, test how they function, and to see if they can be accepted by everyone. However, despite all the flatness of this system, we must not forget for 1 minute that we personally exist in this reality right now. And we can only comprehend this reality, whether it is useful or harmful, necessary or unnecessary, only if we understand it completely. And if there is an element of the binary principle in your I am, in the 9th Arcana, then you need to understand where it is, what it is, how it works, when it is activated, under what circumstances, when it is needed, and when it is not. Because the binary principle certainly simplifies things considerably. The entire computer-based informational reality that surrounds you at this moment is based on the binary principle, 0 and 1. This is how information is processed, encoded, and decoded. And we still don't have any other way of translating information into a slightly different language. But now a new quantum theory is emerging. And this quantum theory suggests that information is also distributed in a sort of cells. But these cells already represent a so-called qubit form. And this means that the state of the elements can also occupy an intermediate position between 0 and 1. Can you imagine the colossal range of possibilities this opens up? It tells us that in this state, two pairs of elements within the same range are linked by a magical connection. And any changes in the state of one element will automatically lead to changes in the state of the other. And this opens up huge possibilities for us, especially if we understand that this is still an experiment at the moment. However, this experiment and its results will reveal one important thing. Another operating system is being prepared, one that will support the capabilities of multidimensionality. If consciousness within this operating system is able to perceive the forms of the other operating system, then the old one does not need to be destroyed. It is simply necessary to change certain constants at the level of the world of Absolute, and, as a result, the programming within the world of Bria will be different. However, if these constants cannot be changed without causing catastrophic destruction throughout the world of Yetzirah, then the old operating system cannot be adapted to anything else. A completely different operating system will be required, and part of the consciousness must be transferred to another carrier. And no one is saying that this new system is being created. It already exists. It's just that not all consciousnesses, because of our Discworld, as Terry Pratchett so aptly called it, are capable of perceiving a multidimensional, multi-layered world. A world in which events occur simultaneously in different time streams. And this is not an illusion, it is reality. And consciousness simply has to learn to function at a much higher and better level in this quantum madness, and not deny this new formation. It is the simplest system, believe me, and binary logic is the most elementary form of logic. However, it is on this binary logic that all human thinking is currently based. Even our ability to combine the elements within our subtle bodies is limited to paired combinations. And yet, despite possessing only this much, the people of the world of Yetzirah do not even manifest this effect because they are deprived of this right at the egregorial level. Of course, it is frightening to admit that everything we currently possess as magical knowledge and abilities, such as working with the elements and understanding the system and structure of our own consciousness, is only the bare minimum that a human being can possibly manifest. How
Сколько
many
было
subtle bodies would a
у
person
человека
have if it were
тонких тел,
possible to
если
combine
бы
3
можно
elements?
было бы соединять по 3 стихии?
Try to
Попробуйте
calculate
запишите.
that.
Это не
It's
очень
not very
сложно, между
difficult,
прочим,
by
это
the way.
простые
It's simple
арифметические действия.
arithmetic. Try to work
Попробуйте
it
это
out.
посчитать,
Discuss it on
обсудите,
the
кстати,
forum,
это на форуме,
either in the
будет очень
elements
интересно,
section or in the
конструктивно.
tarot
Ну,
section
бывает,
that's
люди
relevant to our
по-разному, в
work.
общем,
It would be very
имеют
interesting.
отношение
I
друг к другу.
recommend that you experiment with some
Рекомендую вам
theoretical
поэкспериментировать в
considerations.
теоретических выкладках.
Once you've
Да?
determined the
Вот.
number
А
of
определив
additional
количество
subtle bodies,
дополнительных
try to
тонких тел,
imagine what
попробуйте
they might be
проектировать, на
capable
какие
of.
вещи они были бы способны.
It is
Понятно,
clear
что
that the higher the
усложнение
body, the more
поднимается
complex it
выше. И
becomes.
понятно, что где-то между
And it is clear that somewhere between the Buddhic
будхиальными
and
и
Atmic bodies,
атмическими
there
телами
must
должно
be
появляться
additional
еще
bodies. The subtle
дополнительные
bodies
тела,
that allow
которые
us to
дадут нам
combine 3
возможность по
elements,
двойке на
not
тройке
just 2.
соединять. Или
Or
напротив,
perhaps the bodies in which 2
двойки
elements are combined remain
попадут
lower,
вниз
while the
по-разному,
higher
да?
subtle
А
bodies of the
высшие
person
тела
begin to
сознания
unfold and
человека
arrange
только
themselves in a
могут быть
completely
на этом
different
или
way.
как-то по-другому.
Try to
Попробуйте на
imagine
эту тему
this. It
пофантазировать,
will
это
be
будет
very
очень
interesting
интересное
research.
исследование.